Hi friends, it's Grace and welcome back to another video. So today I am talking about the August installment of Reading Booktubers' favorite books that is coming a little bit late, but I did actually manage to read the book in August. It's just been a bit now since I finished it where I didn't have time to film. However, that book was The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu, and I've been excited to start the Dandelion Dynasty for quite some time, but knowing that I would get to it this year because at some point I knew that Abby from Abby Salter had picked this for me for her choice, of course, for this series. So I knew that I didn't know what month it was going to happen in, but I knew I was going to get to start it this year, and I've been looking forward to it, and I will be happy to say that I really enjoyed this. But first of all, Abby, whose channel I will of course have linked in the description, sent me a wonderful clip where she explains so well so many of the things that are good about this book and why she recommended it, so we will get right into that now.
Hi, so I recommended The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This series was one of my favourites of 2022, particularly The Wall of Storms, the second book, which I absolutely adored. Like, I think this is an amazing fantasy series. Ken Liu is a genius. I recommended this to Grace because I feel as though typically our fantasy tastes mostly align. I think she does read some more traditionally epic fantasy books than I do, but typically I think our fantasy tastes are relatively similar and that she would enjoy this series as much as I did. If you haven't read The Grace of Kings, I would encourage everybody to read it. I love the influence of the gods, I loved the Chinese historical setting, the different characters that we follow and the political machinations and the engineering that is interwoven into this series. The second book is where it all kicks off. The second book is where it really gets going. That book just like propelled this series into being a favourite series for me, and the characters just do everything for me. Like, I feel so much for the characters within these books. So hopefully, Grace, you had the same experience as I did with this series and that you're going to continue on and hopefully really enjoy the rest of the series. Thank you for having me be one of the people that picked you a book, and I really hope this one was a hit.
So now that we've heard what Abby had to say about the book, we can get into the vlog portion of the video. And I didn't get to vlog as often as I would have liked for this one, just because me and Ben were in the UK while I was reading this, and a lot of the times I would just kind of go days without filming a clip. But I do have a couple of pretty long ones where I think I was able to get a little bit more in-depth on my thoughts to like whatever point in the book I was at. So we will hear from me from like a month ago, and then I will get into some of my final thoughts. Hello. So admittedly this is quite late because I am like 200 pages into this book now, but this is the vlog for The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Honestly, just haven't really found a moment to vlog. That's it, like that's the reality. So I have basically only been reading this for like 2.5 days and I'm already making really good progress. Do you want to be in this?
Yeah, I'm here. I have Drake ready.
Okay. I'm sure it's going to come at the most opportune time.
Grace and Kings.
Oh yes. Yes, okay.
Bye.
Okay, great. So basically, I'm really enjoying it so far. I know that people kind of say that it's written in the style of almost like short stories that are connected. And I kind of get what they mean, because there's like kind of like time jumps and different character points of view and different like locations on this continent that we're being introduced to. But I kind of see it as like we're definitely following one like through line as a story, and so I've still felt that it's been really connected so far, even though we have kind of added a lot of character perspectives, and we have had a lot of like maybe like vignettes. We've kind of like dropped into someone's perspective and learned a little bit about them, and then we've seen how they contribute to the overall narrative. But I really enjoy how this is being told. I really love Ken Liu's ideas and how he's setting up this world and the conflict, and I wouldn't say I'm necessarily emotionally connected to the characters yet, but I think that I'm invested in them because I think that they're pretty interesting in terms of like their trajectory and where they're going. So I think it's been a really good start, and I think that that bodes well based on how much people kind of like enjoy the rest of the series in comparison to the first book, because obviously people think that The Grace of Kings is good, but I think the general consensus is that the series only goes up from there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing, and I will do another update whenever I get a chance, because honestly, who knows when that will be.
Also, a big thank you to Amy, because Amy got me the book, the edition you're reading, and I haven't got a chance to get to it yet, so it's being put to good use, just not by the person you actually got it for.
I have usurped Ben's copy. I do own a copy of The Grace of Kings, but I am in the UK, so thank you for your service to this copy of the book.
And then the nice background. Wow.
And there he is again. Hi everyone. So here's the thing about Grace of Kings, which is that I literally chose the worst possible time to read a book for a vlog, because we have been just going everywhere. Like when I was in the UK with Ben, we would be, you know, doing day trips, and so I would read on the train, but then when we got there I wouldn't be able to update because we are like going places, doing things, and I just didn't have a chance to talk. So basically what I'm trying to tell you is that I'm very close to finishing, but I wanted to do one final update before I actually read the ending, just to kind of talk about what my thoughts have been. And I am quite enjoying this. I think that right now I'm feeling around like a 4 to a 4.25 star, just because I'm still like really enjoying the way that Ken Liu is building this world and this series, but it's very much like covering a lot of ground, and it kind of has a fast pace in the sense that we're looking at a long period of time and a large number of events that we get to see the characters be involved in. And so I am enjoying the characters, because there are certainly times when we slow down and take a look into their psyches, and I really enjoy that, and I enjoy kind of like the life lessons learned and the wisdom that is being kind of communicated through some of the overarching like themes. When, say, a battle or a war is being fought, there is something to be learned. There is a reason why someone triumphs over their enemy and things like that. But at the same time, this is rather heavy on the military fantasy aspect, I would say, with more of a light focus on the characters, because basically a lot of the development and the characters' goals and feelings and everything revolves around their goals in like a political and martial sense. So that's kind of just the nature of the book, and I am enjoying it, but it just has that aspect of not always feeling as connected. Like you don't always feel like you're right there in the moment. It sometimes just feels more like a story being told to you rather than a like nitty-gritty moment by moment experience with the characters. So that's kind of just the style that the book is told in, and I am enjoying it, but I think that's kind of what brings it to that lower 4 range for me, just because like it's still very good, but it's not necessarily my favorite style for the like emotional attachment. However, I'm very impressed with what's been done so far. I'm enjoying the sci fantasy elements and the kind of like innovation that we see happening all the time in this series, because people are trying to outsmart each other, and it drives a lot of change in this world. And there's still like a ton of positive things to say. So I'm definitely going to be finishing this book tonight. We are exhausted. We have been up, so it is, it's 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but because of the time zone swap, we've been up since midnight Eastern Standard Time. So 5 a.m. in the UK, and then in the UK right now it would be midnight. So we just got home, had some dinner, and then I had a shower, obviously. So I'm basically just going to finish the book and then pass out. So I will be coming to you at some point with an update about my final thoughts, but it's probably not going to be tonight because I'm probably just going to go to sleep. Okay, so I'll be honest, I really don't remember what I said in most of these clips, so I'm going to try not to repeat myself too much and just talk about my overall thoughts once I finish the book. But I did give this 4.25 stars. It was a book that I really enjoyed. I think there were a lot of fascinating things about it, and a lot of what Abby said in her clip were the things that I really enjoyed about this book. So I'm so glad that she was able to know my tastes and just be right about the fact that I was going to enjoy those things. It's always really nice when that happens. So basically, definitely was a positive overall experience. I really liked the kind of like sprawling epic nature of this, and the further we got into the Grace of Kings and we built over long periods of time throughout this book, the more invested I continually was in a couple of the characters, mostly one character in particular, whereas one other main character I kind of slowly got maybe not less invested in, but I was rooting for them less. And I kind of think that that is how you're supposed to feel as a whole going through this book. The more you learn about certain people, it kind of makes you want to continue rooting for them, or maybe like you think that they are not making good decisions. I think that this was just like a really intricate and kind of like ambitious story because of the long period of time that we spanned, and there is a lot of battles in here. There are overarching like wars and changing of politics, and a lot of like geopolitics and changing of like centers of power in different parts of this world, and there's a ton of that. And I believe it was Evie who put it this way in her Goodreads review. This book is sort of like a bird's eye view of what's happening, and I completely agree with that. And so while I really liked this, I think that the bird's eye view aspect of war and kind of like military fantasy is the reason why this wasn't like a higher 4-star or even a 5-star for me, because I think that my overall and main feeling about this is that I would have liked it to be like slightly more character focused, but I also recognize that that's not what the book was going for. So like I respect what it was doing, but it just would have been more to my personal tastes if it was more character focused. And we did get parts of it that were like that. Like I said, this spans a long period of time. So there were certainly times when we would slow down and we would get to study the characters and their relationships a little bit more, but on the whole, these were sort of like vignettes in the grand scheme of this military fantasy tale that was going on. And I find generally like strategy and tactics to be interesting to read about too, but most of the time the reason that I find that interesting is because it is characters that we care about strategizing for how they're going to be successful, if that makes sense. So this had a little bit of that, but it also had a little bit of the impersonal nature of when you're talking about an entire continent at war with each other and you're trying to focus on everything. It's quite a broad perspective to take. Another aspect of this story that I personally thought was really cool was the pantheon of gods that we have in this world, where each god is a patron of kind of like a subsection of the continent, and like a certain people have each god as their patron god. And the thing that I found really cool about this is the sort of like Greek-esque concept. There might be a better explanation, but that's just the mythology that like I've read the most about. So it reminded me of the Greek gods, both in similarities and in differences, because these gods are very much like rooting for certain people, and they have their favorites, which reminded me a lot of like what you see in the Iliad and stuff and the Odyssey, where gods will interfere on behalf in favor of one of their favorite mortals. But the other thing that was a little bit different that I found really interesting is that in this world and in this mythology, the gods are not allowed to interfere directly. And I can't remember whether this is a rule that they have for themselves, like among each other, or whether they're physically not able to interfere directly. I think it's more of like a code of conduct for the gods, but they would like maybe take on a mortal form and walk among humans and sort of like nudge them in the right direction towards like one decision or another, or like give hints to their favorite mortals. And I found that really interesting because it's a clever way of each of the gods trying to manipulate things more to their liking and trying to get the outcome that they desire without being able to actually like get down on the battlefield and help their favorite warrior or whatever it may be. So I really liked the way that was sprinkled throughout this story, because it was sort of like a gentle touch of the hands of the gods rather than anything too like heavy-handed. And yeah, that was really fascinating. So overall, like I said, I don't want to repeat myself too much. I did talk a bunch about my thoughts during the vlog clips, so I think that that's all I'll say. However, I am having a cat scratch at the door. I am really excited to get into the Wall of Storms because, I mean, just generally, everybody loves the second book in this series even more than the first one, and I'm just really hopeful that I share that same feeling, that could even possibly be a new favorite book for me. And this was already quite a strong start for me, even though it was closer to a 4-star than a 5-star. That's still like quite positive feelings on it for me. So I really enjoyed myself with this, and I'm so happy to have the really pretty edition of this, and I'm going to continue collecting them in this because I think they just look amazing. And yeah, this was definitely a successful pick. So thank you so much to Abby for picking this for me and for sending me your recommendation clip. And I really, really hope that I continue to enjoy the rest of the series. So with that said, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more from me. As always, I'll have my Discord and socials linked in the description if you're interested. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye!